All right. Call halal yamla Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai by Hashem Rakah Kodash. And double honors to those and apostles of GMS who do well taught us his truth. Peace and blessing to the hopeful elect. Shalom to the hopeful election. I'm gonna go ahead and get this real quick. It's Obadiah 1 4, I believe. Obadiah 1 and 4. Actually, let's start at verse 3. It says, the pride of thine heart have deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the cleft of thy rocks. And who is this talking about? Esau, Edom. You know, the so-called self-proclaimed white man today. It says, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down? Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, it said, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. You see, and that's what the Lord is doing. He's allowing these Edomites, just like as He's allowed them, is certain, of the heathen to build themselves up to a status. Now the heathen are seeing that they've been effed over in the deal because only two nations was prophesied to rule. Excuse me, Esau and Jacob. And at the end of the day, the Lord is going to bring to fruition what He said He was going to do. And every time they build something, He's going to destroy it. And that's what you're seeing going on right now. And in every kingdom, all the Lord has done is He's allowed them to build, and then He would destroy it, man. You see? And that's what He's doing in their last kingdom. He's allowed them to build themselves all the way up that level, that measure of wickedness. And then he's going to destroy this place. Mystery Babylon the great whore, the great merchant city, right? It says, I have loved you, saith the Lord, yet wherein thou hast loved us was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith the Lord, yet I love Jacob. It says, and I hated Esau and laid his mountains, his governments, his rulership. He said, laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. And see us, that's what He's going to do again. And this time, what He's doing is He's gathering all nations up to go against His devil. He's gathering. You see him going over. You see that what's going on over there in I don't want to say Middle East. In West Asia. Got to get in the habit of saying that more. Yeah, but that's going on over there in the West Asian, part of the world, man. So pretty much the Qatar, is. I mean, you see them. I watched the Brother Saints in New Jersey. Him going into it a little bit, man. And that's what's going. That's pretty much the Valley of Jehoshaphat. The nations being gathered to the Valley of Jehoshaphat, man. I can believe American embassy was put on in the Holy Land as well. Not was it about a couple years ago or so? So that's the nations being prepared. Stirring up these different kings. And then you're stirring up NATO. Obviously, and NATO's weak compared to the BRICS nations, man. They don't stand. A lot of those nations don't stand a chance. Majority of NATO doesn't stand a chance, bro. But then you got some powerhouses in NATO, But this is not going to end well, man, for you devils, man. This is the problem. This is the time when the Lord said He was going to visit the earth, man. He was going to visit you for what you did to us. This is Isaiah 47. It's Isaiah 47. Start at verse 2. It says, take the millstones and grind the mill, uncover thy locks and make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers. It says, thy nakedness shall be uncovered. Yeah, thy shame shall be seen. It says, I will take vengeance and I will not meet thee as a man. So the Lord is telling you He's not going to come back and meet you as a man. He's going to meet you as an angelic force. And I'm still keeping an eye on that 3-1 Atlas, and there's so much other things going on. It says, as for our Redeemer, you got to keep your eyes peeled. You got to keep your eyes open. these days, man. Like watch, be watchful. You know, you get even if you're tired, still watch. You know, be circumspect. You know, consistency, man. It says, as for our Redeemer, the Lord of hosts is his name, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, the Holy One of Israel. It says, sit thou silent and get thee into darkness. It says, O daughter of the Chaldeans. It says, for thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. It says, I was wroth, you know, this Lord speaking, I was wroth with my people and I polluted my inheritance and then giving them into thy hand. We've been polluted over here. You know, we've been destroyed completely, man. Like there's no other nation that's done to us what you devils have attempted to do. Because you want to sit in the seat of the Most High, and it's not given to you. You know the promises was never given to you. No, none of it. You know you've been following laws based upon what your forefathers have bred you into, and now you going into captivity, man. It says, "Thou didst show them no mercy upon the ancient, has thou very heavily laid the yoke, man. And you're not going to see the Lord is hardening your hearts, because you know in your mind, you know in the devil's mind, these devils they think that this kingdom's going to go on forever. These elite devils, they believe they're going to complete their enterprise, man. You know, you got that mark on Cain where you know it says anybody that touches them will get sevenfold, but now the Lord is touching you. He's touching you with judgment. He has all your nations in derision. You know, all the nations in derision based upon what you have built up, a society that you have lied your way into and pseudoscience your way up to the top with, man. It says, and thou said, I shall be a lady forever. You know, that mark that he put on Cain, anyone that touches him, you know, that essentially, you know, they understand that mark because they understand who they are. They understand who they go back to. You know, and what, like they always go into, like the brothers go into, that serpent was just another, it was just representation of another people group, you know, another wise nation, you know, a cunning nation, because serpent, what does it mean? Wise, you know. So that serpent in the garden was just it was another man, but it's used in poetic. It's poetic. Genesis is very poetic. It says, so you got to be able to read between the lines and use the spirit if you have it. It says, though so thou that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. So you didn't think about these things. You know, Edomites when they was winning, they wasn't thinking about, you know, how you feel about, you know, the topics that, you know, that keep running the bride. They wasn't thinking about you. They wasn't thinking about, you know, the problems in your neighborhood. But now more and more and more are starting to, you know, women, even the so-called Edomite women are starting to, you know, come around Jake even more. You know, you deal with how you deal. You know, that's your business. But I'm not, you know, me personally, I'm at this point, you'd be better off just staying alone, bro. But hey, to each their own, man. Brothers gonna deal how they want to deal, man. It's your business. And see, all of these things is happening because you devils have set yourselves on high, man. You didn't account for the latter end, you know. You didn't account for the things that was going to come in the latter end. You thought that you was always going to be on top. But see, the Lord laid a snare for you. Let's get this real quick, man. This is Second Ezra's 8:1. It says, and he answered me, saying, the Most High made this world for many, but the world to come for few. See, this world that we currently live in, that's why this world is the wide gate, you know. It's known as a wide gate. You know, it's easy. You know, you enter into the world to look the part, you know, you start making money, you start, you know, building yourself up, you start, you know, building the status quo. Or, you know, you just out, you just lose it out. You know, you become on drugs, you just pretty much you full of demons now, so there's no, you know, you in a state of no, feeling like there's no hope, man. But whichever state that you in, It all has to do with this world, man. Because guess what? Whether you at the top or the bottom, you know, this world is gonna turn. The earth is gonna turn, whether you here or not. So why not? You know, this is the separation that got to be made. You know, why not invest your time into building yourself up in this truth? If you say you're a believer, building yourself up spiritually rather than building yourself up carnally, because there's nothing carnal that's gonna sustain you. You got to build up your faith, build up your spiritual faith, man. And that entails sometimes going through things and doing things that other people don't have to go through or do. You know, it includes making our bodies a living sacrifice, so it looks foolish to other people. But if you fully understand, you understand the mission of it. The long run. Anyways, it says, "I will tell thee a similitude, Esdras." It says, as when thou askest the earth, it shall say unto thee that give much, it's that giveth much, moved. It says, whereof earthen vessels are made. It says, but little dust that gold cometh of. It says, even so, this is the course of the present world. There be many created, but few shall be saved, man. And that includes today, man. This in this present world that we're in right now. That's why there's only a few out of the billions and billions and billions that you only see about 200, maybe, a couple thousand. I mean, we know that they watch the videos, but who's actually actively in the videos? Who's actively in watching? During the lessons, right? You're only gonna get 200, about 200 of those, maybe three on a good day. You know what I'm saying? But the point is, there's really not a lot of Israelites that get this portion of it. There's Israel, and then there's the elect. Putting on the elect is essentially putting on that cup of suffering, man. It says, so I answered it and said, swallow thee down, O my soul, understanding and devour wisdom. That's why in all things gain understanding. To understand this world is to understand that everything is fake, man. Like literally everything is psyop. So even when you try to, I mean, don't want to mean to put it like this, but you should strive to do well, but don't get over righteous with yourself. There's a balance to it as well. You know, you're supposed to lean on Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai in everything that you do in hopes and have faith that your sins are forgiven while continuing in doing the work and doing what you need to do to better yourself in this, man. It says, and devour wisdom. It says, for thou hast agreed to give ear and art willing to prophesy, for thou has no longer space than only to live, O Lord. And see, that's another thing. The Lord's prophets are to be separate from this world, man. That's another. Let me get that real quick, because when you put on the gift of prophecy, when you put on prophecy, period, if you can understand the prophecies, you pretty much you have Yahweh Shah's, literally his spirit within you, man. You know, this is Revelation 19:10. It says, and it says, and I fell at the feet to worship him. And that's another reason why, this Lord, the world, we will never, meant to be a part of this world, man. The Lord, once the Lord's Spirit is really working with you, you just, I mean, everywhere you go, you're not going to be accepted. If it is, more than likely it's fake. If the environment is too nice, more than likely it's fake. If it's too evil, you already know we need to get out of it. Saying get out as fast as you can. You know, you don't need to be around everything, because it's not a time to be around everything. You never know what could happen in situation. Esau's time is running low. His devils is, they getting testy. But anyways, it says, and I fell at his feet to worship him. And he said unto me, see thou do it not. It says, I am a fellow servant. It says, and of thy brethren that have testimony, and of thy brethren that have a testimony of Yahweh Shah, man. So the angel was pretty much calling him John, the Revelator, a brother, man, of Yahweh Shah. They have the testimony of Yahweh Shah. It says, worship Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shah. For the testimony of Yahweh Shah is the spirit of prophecy. And the spirit of the prophets are subjected unto the prophets, man, right? So it doesn't matter, Heavenly Father, being the Father of spirits, you know, He's going to designate his prophets, his people, the like minded, the believers of Yahweh Shah, to pretty much follow the Lord's spirit wherever he go, man. It said these are they that follow the land whichsoever he goeth, man. This is Hebrews 12 and 9. It says, furthermore, we have fathers of our flesh, which corrected us. And that's, the apostles, the eldest apostles on down, you know, from the order, man. And then the other affiliate camps too, It says, and we give them reverence. It says, shall we not much rather be in subjection unto the fathers of spirits and live? And that's why, that's another reason for giving double honors to those apostles that have been doing this 10 toes down over for 40 plus years, man. You know, that deserves a salutation, bro. That's not that, and then to have to go through all the pain and trauma that they've had to go through and endure, similar to what we've had to go through and endure, those may be coming in, and, it's going to be, your walk is going to be different, but it's all predicated upon the same end goal, right? So that's the one thing that should always, what I'm saying, be understood, man, is that you're not in this alone. But at the end of the day, the Lord is He's going to bless us. It says, for they verily for a few days chasten us after their own pleasure. It says, he said, but he for our profit, that we might be partakers of his holiness, man. So the things that you're going through, that we've been through, that's, from the ancient times to now, it's all a part of the Lord's will to bring us into the covenant, man. Call Allah Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah, man. Because we really don't deserve it, man. You know? And at the end of the day, he's going to allow you to be partakers with that covenant, man, that blessing. Pretty much you all power, new bodies, right? Never get sick, never, you're gonna be perfect, you're gonna be children of the Most High. You're gonna automatically do what's righteous. You don't know what to do. You're gonna get to be able to travel to the different planets and establish, order and governments and households and pretty much rulerships and dominions on different lands and planets. Man, look, it's gonna be a blessing, man. It's gonna be obviously not seen, but what you Edomites get, what you devils get, you know, this is what you get, man. Uh, do it like this because you think that you're gonna go, you're gonna have life is gonna go back to normal of some sort where you're gonna be able to enjoy your lattes with a peace of mind. You know, life is just gonna, it's gonna eventually it's gonna get more vibrant once again, like the '90s or some shit. It's not going back to any of that, man. You know, it's not going back to any of that. And we have it fully set in our mind that that's the end goal, man. Like, even if some of us have to be destroyed, not destroyed, but martyred. That's more. You have to be martyred for this truth, man. And it is what it is, man. May the Lord Yahweh Bashem Shah's will be done. Not my will, but his will be done. Isaiah 48, man. It says, this is verse Isaiah 48 and 20. And let's read out NLT. It says, yet even now be free from your captivity. Leave Babylon and Babylonians. So this is, the Lord telling us to free our mind, confessing his name. It starts with confessing the name and walking in that, wholeheartedly, putting on that cup of suffering, preaching the word, forbidding as many as you can to the marriage ceremony, which is consecration, coming back to Yahweh through Yahweh Shah, man. It says, leave Babylon and the Babylonians. Sing out this message. It says, shout it into the ends of the earth. The Lord has redeemed his servants. It says, the people of Israel, of Yasharallah. They were not thirsty when he led them through the desert. He divided the rock and water gushed for them to drink. But there is no peace for the wicked, says the Lord Yahweh. There is no peace for the wicked man. And who's the wicked? Esau, Edom, man. The wicked which was created to be destroyed, right? And at the end of the day, that is your lot, man. You devils were created to be destroyed. This is Proverbs. Hold on. Proverbs 16:4. This Proverbs 16:4. It says, the Lord hath made all things for himself. Yeah, even the wicked for the day of evil, man. And what is that day of evil? Let's go and read out NLT. The Lord had made everything for his own purposes, even the wicked for the day of disaster, man. And that's why, you are to fear the Lord in this thing, man. Because you never know who's who. And see, you devils were created to pretty much promote wickedness on the earth so that it can reach its measure. And the Lord can, completely judge not just you, but all the other nations as well. As you polluted us over time, you thought you was getting away with it and still think you're getting away with it because now they're starting to show their pride, you know. And at the end of the day, everything that you devils do is going to backfire, just like the curses of Deuteronomy. When the curse was put on us, it's going to backfire on you. You're going to get so far to where the Lord eventually is going to step in and it's going to be a one first round knockout, man. So, you devils, your future is grim. Before you get into captivity, you're gonna lose. You're gonna understand that you're losing badly. You're gonna understand that these curses that we was on has been put on you now. Thus save the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah, man. And the Lord is gonna put the law on our hearts, so we're gonna keep the laws automatically. We get the promises, you know, and you don't. So that's it. Pretty much, telling you devils, that's your judgment. It's your future judgment. You're going into captivity. You're gonna be plowing you're gonna build our homes. You're gonna bury a lot of dead bodies. It's one of the first things you're gonna do. You're going to pretty much make our fabrics, all the little science and shit that you love to do. You're gonna be doing that for us. All the little products you like using, but everything's gonna be done in righteousness. Ain't gonna be no manufacturing plants and shit. Nah, everything is gonna be done in righteousness in our kingdom, man. You know. And yeah, you gonna get taxed and gonna tax the hell out of you, just like you tax the hell out of us here. We're gonna tax the shit out of you. You want certain products, you want certain things from us, which you're gonna need, and then you're gonna be taxed like all hell. And that's one of the things the Lord said we can do to you. You know, but yeah, that's about it, man. That's the point. At the end of the day, your time is coming. Call Allah, Yumla, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakah, Kodash. Shalom to the whole food leg.